Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined as always this fine Tuesday by Kyle Dvorchak and Lawrence Jackson, where we are going to talk Week 14's toughest rankings, give some of our takeaways from yet another strange Monday Night Football game, one that featured 2 Tom Brady touchdowns in the final 3 minutes, one of the most horrific losses you'll ever see for the New Orleans Football Saints. Mark Ingram, maybe to stay in bounds. Maybe you ever thought about that, Mark Ingram. And as we'll also briefly start, though, by hitting on the news of the day, the Titans' surprise firing of GM Jon Robinson after 6 years on the job. I'll be honest, I had him ranked as a top 10 GM when I did my annual article last spring. But then I reread my ranking. And so it just felt like the whole time Jon Robinson should be a good GM because they make an AFC championship game. They get a steal in Ryan Tannehill. They're the number 1 seed last year. But then rereading my ranking, my write-up, he missed on so many of his big decisions. The Julio Jones trade, terrible. Trading A.J. Brown, obviously terrible. The first round, kind of the one part of the draft board where you really kind of have control over the situation where it's not total dart throws. Since 2016, if you don't count Treylon Burks this season, they have one of Jon Robinson's first-round picks still on the roster. Corey Davis is gone. Rashaan Evans is gone. Jeffrey Simmons is still there and dominating. But Isaiah Wilson, a 2020 first-rounder, and Caleb Farley, a 2021 first-rounder, no longer on the roster. That's a big, big problem. A big, big problem. Is Caleb Farley still on the roster?
I was going to say Caleb Farley.
He was just there last. Yeah, he got picked up.
But they don't play him on defense anymore. I know he's
the point was he's bad.
He hasn't played a defensive snap since week 5, and he's been a little banged up since then, but he's appeared in 4 games, and they just use him on special teams now. He can't even play defense anymore.
So just kind of a firing that seemed shocking when it came across the wire. I mean, it's still shocking, but a little less shocking.
It sounds like your write-up, you were afraid of the internet backlash of the 6 consecutive winning seasons, multiple playoff appearances. I think they had the good game where they knocked out the Ravens too, right? Clearly things had been working in terms of the results, and fearing the internet backlash of ranking this guy has X wins, his win percentage X, as the 23rd best GM or whatever. You ranked him as a top 10 GM, and then you wrote up the truth in that a lot of what has gone on looks to be lucking into Ryan Tannehill. I mean, give him whatever amount of credit you want, but he was backup quarterback. You can't give him that much credit for doing that. And then having a really good offensive-minded coach. And you wrote him up as such, even though the ranking maybe gave him a little bit of credit for the QB wins column.
Yeah, and it was also just fear of I'm not a football guy. Maybe not understanding everything that has gone into this 53-man roster. But the kind of stuff I can understand, the superficial big decisions, wow, those have all been bad. Yeah. Except for hiring Mike Vrabel. And it seems like the Titans have decided this is a Vrabel operation, not a Jon Robinson operation. Any thoughts, Lawrence?
I mean, you traded away A.J. Brown, who, let's remember, was not actually a first-round pick. However, it's fair to say that's been his best pick because he wasn't there, I don't believe, when they drafted Derrick Henry. You get now. I got a question. Do y'all feel like they're 7-5 right now? We just now starting to see Treylon Burks do a little something. You think they have a better record by a game or two if they still have A.J. Brown? Because if you can make yourself feel like that, then that's the start of the bad things.
Yeah, they definitely do.
They probably have at least one more win. I mean, it's so hard to give a win.
Yeah, that's hard. But I think that seeing A.J. Brown just destroyed him. That was his first breakout game in weeks. It's been weeks since he had that 3 touchdown game. He just emptied the clip on the Titans, and they was probably just like, you know what, man, we good.
You look for a specific game. I think we all remember the Sunday Night Football game against the Chiefs where they couldn't gain a single yard in the second half. Maybe A.J. Brown would have been a service there. Just a thought. Kyle, I couldn't tell. I don't think you had another thought on it, did you?
No, I'm guessing, like, obviously, like I said, he was on his way clearly to a 7th winning season and another playoff berth. But it sounds like, one, they're giving a lot of credit. And I kind of lean this way, too, to Mike Vrabel in the success over most of that stretch. I don't think Vrabel was there his, like, first or second year, but most of that stretch and the most successful parts of that stretch clearly are getting credited to Mike Vrabel. And we had Aaron Wilson, national reporter, used to be a Texans guy, maybe still is, I don't know, said that Mike Vrabel is expected to have significant power in the Titans decision-making going forward. Given his success in his player evaluations, like, you understand on so many levels why the front office has finally decided to side with Vrabel. So it sounds like there's some politicking involved, but maybe like somewhat rightfully so politicking.
Yeah, definitely a power struggle was going down. But we say all this on Tuesday. I mean, hopefully, like, nothing in like the next 24 hours comes out that this was like off the field related, but it does not appear that it was off the field related. Just appears it was some guys power struggling and someone losing and someone winning. As happens so often in this NFL. As so happens so often in this NFL, as Tom Brady steals your soul. And it seemed like he was out of soul stealings until Monday night when the Saints just crumbled under the bright Brady lights. Just a horrific end to that game for New Orleans. Hard to overstate that. As bad as the Mark Ingram mistake was, it was far from the only mistake. And maybe just like don't play prevent defense against Tom Brady, especially like when his protection's crumbling. And Lawrence, you look like you've got some thoughts.
Who did was it the Rams? They did this to a team a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't the Browns because the Browns beat them. Who did they beat?
Who, the Bucks?
Yes, the same. Oh, it was the Rams. The Rams had them dead to rights
in Tampa Bay.
In Tampa Bay, same situation. You got them deep in their own territory. I just saw Lamar Jackson news that ain't good.
Oh no.
Sprained PCL, you know. So we saw Tom Brady. You do pretty much the same thing, and the Rams played the same type of defense. They let off woo, couple passes downfield. They don't even play, you know, they don't even try to keep them in bounds. Forget that. They had no timeouts, field goal win. Same difference here. Mark Ingram made the mistake, but weeks from now, years from now, if the Buccaneers go on to win the Super Bowl this year, no one's going to remember that. It's just going to be another Tom Brady comeback.
God, whatever deity it is out there, favors Tom Brady. It's just clear. Mother Nature favors Tom Brady. And yeah, Lamar Jackson, by the way, per Kyle sharing the tweet from Adam Schefter, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson suffered a sprained PCL during Sunday's win over the Broncos. PCL injuries often sideline players 1 to 3 weeks. And Ravens head coach John Harbaugh has already said he's less likely to play Sunday versus Steelers. This does play into Harbaugh's initial timeline where he said he was out days to weeks. Harbaugh says a lot of things about injuries, though. He's one of those
doesn't. He's been getting lit up on that this year. He's
hopefully, man. Hopefully, it don't end up like last year because we thought it was week to week last year.
I was gonna say the same thing with the ankle at the end of the year.
And the losses just kept piling because they were in the exact same point, 8-4.
I know. I was gonna say Lawrence. Yeah, like it was literally the same record. I think
8-4. And like Tyler Huntley played well. He always does. But they didn't win no games. So hopefully, you know, he could come back sooner rather than later because as bad as they've been on offense, this should still be a playoff team.
Yeah, I will say, like, the one good thing about the way they've been playing recently is that it seems a bit insulated to Lamar Jackson being hurt because Jackson hasn't been carrying the team like he was early in the year.
Right.
Their pass defense is getting things figured out a little bit more, so they're not as easily they're getting much better than they were to start the year, and more importantly than they were last year. So they have paths to winning that it didn't look like they had last year, but still, like you said, I mean, this is still a tough spot to be in back-to-back years.
Well, it's tough for Tyler Huntley too, because he really is a good backup quarterback where he could have like a Teddy Bridgewater type run with the Saints a few years ago where he stabilized things when Drew Brees was out, but he's just not set up for success at all. Because once again, they have chaos in the run game personnel. Yeah. They have no receivers whatsoever. He's a very good dual threat, but he's not a Lamar Jackson level dual threat where that can decide a game. And it's going to make Tyler Huntley look worse than he probably is because there's no one for him to funnel the ball to.
They just had to simply win the games. You know, like they had no business being that close to Denver. but they found a way to just get through the game, so
Man,
we'll see. They got Atlanta on the schedule coming up soon, so
that's good. That's good.
That's always good.
the Broncos every week make it look like they have Tom Brady on the other side of the field in the final 4 minutes of the game. Just
them Broncos, man.
3-9. So we'll stick with Monday Night Football for a minute, though. So we talk about the miracle comeback for Tom Brady. We'll just start with the Saints. I was going to start with the Bucs, but for the Saints, I'll lead with the bad news. Can we even call Alvin Kamara an RB2 still? He's the RB 34 by average points over the past 5 weeks in PPR leagues. This the volume isn't there. The touchdowns again aren't there. He has only 3 touchdowns all year. The production is just definitely not there. I mean, the volume hasn't been horrible. He's getting 12 to 15 touches most weeks, which is in line with his career norms, but is the offense just too bad? The offensive environment just too bad. So this week, Alvin Kamara, if he were playing, would still be in the top 24 easily because there's 6 teams on bye. But one of those teams is the Saints. All 32 teams are active for week 15. Just off the top of your head, will you still have Alvin Kamara in the top 24?
I think I will, and I think I'll end up being wrong because, man, this Saints offense is bad. And he's not getting peppered with targets anymore. The thing that, terrible Saints offense, great Saints offense, didn't matter is you were locking yourself into, 5 to 6 catches every week with Alvin Kamara at some point in his career. Over the past 5 weeks, he's averaging something I think it's 3.4 catches for just under 30 yards. That's that's enough to make your really middling running back a top 24 guy. But frankly, Kamara hasn't been a middling running back on the ground. He's been just a downright disaster. And I don't really think it's his fault. Like you said, they're not in position to score points. They're not in positions to salt away leads. So of course he's not going to have good rushing stats, but then he isn't salvaging them with really good receiving lines either. So I think the sucker in me is he's still Alvin Kamara. He is still used in the receiving game, just hasn't been elite in it, but we know he can do that. So I'll probably rank him as a top 24 back, and then I'll get 11 PPR points, and I'll just be upset. And I'll do it again.
Keep on doing it.
Well, I think you already answered your question, Pat, when you were saying where he was ranked the past whatever weeks. That was RB 34. But it Kyle, man, the namesake here, and the talent. Here's what he been doing, or the lack of production rather, is really to no fault of his own. It's not like he became a bad football player. The offense just is not good, and we could always depend on that work in the receiving game, and that's he's getting the minimum there. So it's just it's ugly, and it's been ugly. As far as playing him in your RB2 slot, most people probably don't have a better option.
They probably don't.
But you would have to still probably put him in the flex. The fantasy playoff schedule is good, but I don't know if it even matters anymore. I don't know if that sometimes that just don't if he was doing okay with numbers, he ain't doing okay. It stinks. So
yeah, the playoff schedule is great, but I totally agree that we saw Dameon Pierce. I don't think he scored again. He had his best game by yardage versus the Browns, but that doesn't matter if your team has zero chance of scoring a touchdown. Of course, great that you get to run for 5 yards a carry. You're not sniffing the end zone. And that's probably going to be the issue when, ironically, the Saints get the Browns and the Falcons, 2 terrible run defenses coming out of the bye. But there's only so much he's going to be able to do. 5 yards a carry is great. If you're losing 30-7, you're not going to get that many carries, and you're not getting in the paint. So I agree, Lawrence, that I agree with both your parts. Playoff schedule is good. It matters a lot more who's on your team than it does on the other side of the ball.
Even in the fantasy championship, they get the Eagles, who are a lot worse on the ground. Not that they're bad on the ground. And the problem there is they're so good through the air. I think they'll probably just render Andy Dalton non-functional. And
I think the hope is that the Eagles are resting players by then, because that's the only way Kamara's getting there.
Well, so Kamara,
that'd be interesting.
We know that yards per carry is a context team-dependent stat. He's been under 3.5 yards per carry or worse in each of his past 6 games.
That's a long stretch of not good games.
It is, and it's weird. Earlier in the season, he was catching a lot more passes. Beginning in week 4, he had a 4-game stretch where he caught 6 passes every week. And it seems really it's kind of this offensive environment has collapsed. The week they shut out the Raiders, he had 18 carries and a touchdown on the ground. He had 9 receptions, 2 touchdowns through the air. All 3 of his touchdowns on the season came in this one game against the Raiders. And then since then, he's gone as the Saints' offense has gone, which is down, down, down. Yeah. Then on the other side, a lot of stuff going on in both the Bucs receiver core and the backfield. We'll just stick in the backfield for a minute since we were talking about Alvin Kamara. Rachaad White cleared 100 yards from scrimmage in each of the 2 games for the Bucs Week 12 bye. He was played to a Week 13 touch standstill by Leonard Fournette. I think Fournette actually out-touched him 16-15. Rachaad White did get the touchdown, the game-winning touchdown. But a really messy situation. How in the world do we decide who gets the rankings advantage going forward?
I'll just take the better player,
that one is tough.
Dude, no, just take the better player. Open your Mountain Dew, boys. Boys, drink a little bit of Mountain
Dew.
Look.
They started that game. Yeah, Rachaad White got the start. But not soon after, Tom Brady was checking him down to Lenny. I'm sitting here. I got my eyes peeled on this game because I'm going against Lenny. I'm like, don't get 12 points, and this dude get like 3 receptions on the first drive. I'm like, okay, maybe Lenny is back, and this is a 50-50 committee, and by the touches, that's exactly what it is. But I'm gonna give the rankings advantage slightly to Rachaad White. It's just at that point now. Both of these guys are flex plays right now. They definitely need the Bucs offense can't afford to not be using either one of them, to be honest. So I already have Rachaad White ranked a couple spots higher. The question for me is like, I don't know if I could put one of them in the top 24 because I know one of them likely will, and it's the one who scores the touchdown. That could have been very easily Leonard Fournette. He got a carry that he got stopped at like the 3 or 4 yard line. So that part we never really know. But just based on recent play, I got to give it to Rachaad White.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think it'll be a 50-50 committee, which is frustrating. I think it's kind of becoming clear. I think it's been clear, frankly, who's the more talented, more explosive back of the two. And that's why I'm giving Rachaad White a rankings advantage. But it's not going to be massive, right? It's still a weak offensive line. Frankly, it's still a weak offense. They get the win, but the offense did not look good.
QB dubs all that matter, Kyle.
They'll make the playoffs. They could probably even lose a few more given the state of the NFC South. But, I as much as I, think Rachaad White is talented, we just came out of the Alvin Kamara conversation saying there's only so much a player can do with their offense. This is not a Saints level offense, but it's also not Bucs 2021 level offense either. So I'll give a small edge to Rachaad White. I think he'll get almost exactly as many touches as Fournette. I think he'll do a little more with that. But do I think there's a massive gap? No, and I love Rachaad White, but if they're going to get the same amount of touches, I can only do so much with that.
Sounds like I'm going to take Kyle's advice. I'm just going to drink a Baja Blast,
dude,
and put Rachaad White ahead. I've never had a Baja Blast, by the way.
You should try it. Your teeth will fall out seconds after your first sip. But
by the way, Lawrence, you said that neither can be ranked in the top 24. Probably, I think it is true. Next week, when all 30,
the buys is
this week, they're probably both in the top 24. That's how bad running back is this week. It's a crazy week at running back, which we're almost going to get to in 1 second. But just real quick, wanted to touch on Chris Godwin, who he's been the wide receiver 7 by average PPR points over the past 3 weeks. That's only in 2 games because they had their bye. But he's the wide receiver 12 over the past 5 weeks. That's only 4 games. Are we comfortable saying he's a wide receiver 1 again, as he's clearly moved past Mike Evans in both the real life target specking order and in fantasy?
He's been the wide receiver 1 for my fantasy teams with all them targets he getting. He's like the perfect PPR player. I think I have him still right outside of my top 12. It's just even on the bye, too many good players there. You got just off the top, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, CD Lamb there. Those guys are all playing this week. So probably just right outside because of the ineffectiveness of the offense. Yeah, he get a lot of these targets, but it's not like he Tyreek Hill going 9 for 150. He's going 9 for 50, which is cool because that'll get you 14 points. But, you want a little bit more when you're getting 13 targets.
He's been kicking it up a little bit of a notch.
Last week he had a very good game where he went over 100 yards. But like I ain't gonna put him over
7.9 yards per catch last night.
yeah. Like those are running back per yards carry stats
That's
right
true. He did seem like maybe he got like ever so slightly banged up last night. He didn't come out of the game. I thought it was interesting. Joe Buck said that Tom Brady said like we're finally seeing like the real Chris Godwin or whatever again. It's a really interesting. Right now, here I have Chris Godwin currently as the wide receiver 9. I might have to change this because it's Godwin, then it's Jalen Waddle and his leg injury, Garrett Wilson, Keenan Allen, and the potential shootout with the Dolphins, DK Metcalf, T. Higgins. It's kind of a really interesting part of the receiver board this week.
You got to boost that Garrett Wilson ranking, buddy.
I
Get those numbers
know.
up.
You don't want to look point chasey. It's the Bills, but I know he's a dominator, and he's
a couple of guys I got ahead of him are Amari Cooper right ahead of him. I expect them to play a little better this week.
Can't play worse.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Debo, I feel like Debo's gonna have to shoulder more of the load now, him and Christian McCaffrey, and we saw that versus Miami. DK Metcalf coming off a big game, and he's got Carolina. You got DeAndre Hopkins. He hasn't played a bad game yet since he's been back. He's the one who rounds up my top 12, but then you got Keenan Allen, and like you said, the potential shootout. That's why I still have Keenan Allen and Jalen Waddle at the end of my wide receiver 1 rankings. I'm still putting T. Higgins there too at the end, but that's the one I don't know if I should have him that high. He did score last week, but it wasn't on a lot of volume and production. So
receivers are a really weird one this week. We're going to get to that in a minute, but we'll start at running back, and we'll start with you, Kyle. Who are you having trouble ranking at running back in week 14?
Who did I have trouble ranking? You kicked me off DeAndre Swift because you had that base covered pretty well.
We covered it on Monday.
This is a good one. I looked it up. I used the internet to find out the thing I've already said and thought. It's the Pollard Zeke debate, except we really are seeing the 50-50 committee. And I mean, yes, since Zeke returned from his injury, Zeke still has a slight advantage in rushing expected points. They still give him touches at the goal line. I think he has 4 rushing touchdowns since returning. But it is pretty much a 50-50 committee on the ground in terms of the expected points. It's a pretty narrow gap in terms of expected points. And through the air, Pollard not only is like doubling up Zeke in terms of doubling, maybe tripling him up in terms of expected fantasy points, but you watch him play and you're like, he's going to exceed his expected points. Like, expected points are a good baseline, but good players can do some things, even the running back position, maybe less so, but good players can do some things to exceed that expected point total. And Pollard is absolutely one of those players. So I think actually this offense, the way it's running right now, is probably best fit for both Zeke and maybe Pollard. Like, I think there's like a reasonable argument to be made that he's not a 30 touch a game guy. I would kind of still like to see them try.
That ain't even a question.
I would like to see them try, but that's just nerd me saying, let's see how far we can push this. I do think if you're getting 12 to 15 carries a week from Pollard and 5-6 targets as they bludgeon their opponents, which I know they have another stretch of kind of easy games coming up until I think they close with the Eagles, something like that. So they're going to be massive favorites every week. Their defense is going to give them the ball with great field possession constantly. It's perfect for both of them. 6 teams on bye. Could I rank both these guys as top 24 backs? Like, I know I have Pollard there. I'm going to have Pollard like top 15.
Give them both top 12.
I'm about to say, I got both of them. I got Pollard at 8 and Zeke at 13.
I got Zeke at 10, man. It's the Houston Texans. Dude, it's the Houston Texans. They're 17-point favorites.
Man.
I saw that spread.
I knew they had a good game this week. I was sure it was like Giants or Commanders. I didn't realize it was Texans.
Yeah, it's going to be, as I say, thankfully, it's like not much of a debate this week. They're both, I really do think they're going to both be RB1s.
I guess really the interesting thing is like, how high can you rank 2 running backs splitting the work? What is the max? What is the highest
they got
number
to
you
score
can
55 points again. How shocked would you be without even knowing what Pollard does? How shocked would you be if Ezekiel Elliott had, say, 27 carries for like 112 yards and 2 touchdowns? I don't think we'd be shocked.
That's a very Zeke versus the Texans line.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Carries, not terribly inefficient, but probably
right. It's like right there.
It toes the line very well.
The Texans, man, like this is gonna be. I don't think I've been doing our rankings since 2013. I don't think I've ever had 2 running backs from the same team in the top 12 in the same week. But
trying to think, there's probably never been. This is the week. This would be the week.
Hey man, Reggie Bush and Joik Bell.
I'm sure if I went back, I could find a few. There's been some pretty good 2-man backfields, but yeah, I can't remember a time having 2 dudes from the same team. Damian Harris and like Ramondre Stevenson were like, they weren't pushing for top 12 last year. They were both like top 20 a bunch, but like top 12, I just don't ever remember that happening.
How high are we ranking Malik Davis? Because he's getting 5 to 8 carries.
That's a good point. He needs to be at the back end of the rankings, as we saw in week 13.
He is a good, like, you'll text me on like, Thursday or Friday, like, hey, I'm trying to like make sure I have like everyone in Compass rankings. Like I'm at 67 right now, but I usually try and push for 70 or something.
Yeah, I want the DFS sicko plays that I might not even be thinking of at the back end.
And he's a good one. He's a good, like, I don't know, man. I mean, I have some truly they're probably not making the playoffs.
Usually just giving me like crazy tight ends. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know who this guy is on the Eagles, Kyle. Like,
I text you rank Chigaquanu as the tight end 27 twice a day, isn't it?
I've got him higher than that, by the way. I think I've got him in the top 24.
He's awesome.
Tight end. We're not even going to talk about tight end today. That's how bad tight end is.
Oh yeah. So I think I'm going to settle. I'll settle on like Pollard. One of you said RB8 or 9 or something like that.
We both have him as RB8 right now.
Oh, I'm in for that. I still don't think I'll have.
I am
RB1s.
shocked that Patrick Daugherty has Zeke ranked higher than I do.
I know. It's end times, man.
Ain't that so?
It really is.
All it took was 6 teams on a bye in week 14.
Well, yeah. So here what we'll do. We might as well do the game real quick for Kyle, since we both have Zeke faith, Lawrence and I. Zeke against the Houston Texans. Keep in mind, it's the Houston Texans.
Thank you for reminding me.
Travis Etienne against the Tennessee Titans. I think this one's debatable.
I'm going Etienne.
Joe Mixon, if he returns against the Browns.
Mixon.
James Conner against the New England Patriots.
I think I'm going to go James Conner. He was playing like 90% snaps. He played every like single snap, got all the work. But we're in the right range, I think. Keep going.
Maybe I need to get Zeke out of the top 10, Lawrence. Maybe.
Yes, I've done it.
I have Travis Etienne ranked at 14 and Zeke at 13, so I'd have took Zeke there. I have not seen any team that's beaten the Titans do it while running the football.
Yeah,
it's true.
We just saw how many Jalen Hurts didn't even run the ball this game.
No.
He just put on a clinic in the passing game. Miles Sanders had 20-something rushing yards after going off the week before. And again, we saw how the Bengals and the Chiefs had to be. So if none of them teams could do it, I don't. But then I can't just rank ETN too low. But I had to, because of the matchup, I had to put him a little bit outside of my RB1 but he'll still get the volume.
Yeah, you can't put him too low because he has weak winning upside anytime he takes the field. But Zeke or DeAndre Swift?
Oh, Zeke.
Whoa.
Swift. I can't believe I've finally been Zeke.
They're about to beat the Vikings, man. They about to beat the Vikings. Swift is back. That's what Roto Pat said, and I'm with it. Swift is back.
He's all the way back.
I'm just like, I'm going to need, for the rankings purposes, I think you should be starting Swift, but for the rankings purposes, like, I need a little more than one game after an entire season.
One game.
I don't need one.
It scares me.
All I needed to see was them 18 touches, them 100 a little over 100 total yards, and the Vikings. Give me that.
All right, I'm in. I'm flipping the ranks. I'll flip the ranks.
He's basically been healthy 2 games this season, week 1 and then week 13. And both those weeks, he had 18 touches and over 100 yards from scrimmage.
All right, I'm in. No, you know what? You guys checked me on it, and you're right.
I think it's the first time that week 13 was the first time Swift had more carries in a game than Jamal Williams since week 1.
It was, yeah.
I think we found the line here, by the way. We're probably ranking Ezekiel Elliott against the Houston Texans ahead of Najee Harris against the Ravens, correct?
You found a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Najee's got to be high this week, man. I'm just wait till you see this. It's bad. Lawrence, who are you having trouble ranking at running back?
My boy Cam Akers, man.
I can't see why. Things have been so coherent in the Rams.
He was only running back 8 last week in fantasy. I wish people on Twitter would start giving me my flowers for that. It's been a long season, and I said he would be a top 10 running back. And
You did.
You didn't say which week.
You didn't say when.
And here you go, right here, week 13, where still wasn't efficient on the ground. 17 for 60, got no targets, but he fell in. He got one target. I think he got one target, didn't catch it.
No, he caught one ball. Let's be fair to the man.
Did he catch the what?
He caught one ball. I think it was for 0 yards.
Yes. Okay, that's what. No yard. All right, that's a point in PPR. But the two. So now, the only reason I say it's interesting is because they playing the Raiders, and the Raiders been winning games, but we wouldn't mistake the Raiders for some stout defense or having some stout front seven. Now, despite the fact that he's pummeled Kyron Williams into oblivion on the bench, I don't. He's solid. You know what I'm saying? He should probably get more touches. I don't know. I'm happy he ain't. I was forced to start Cam Akers this week, so I'm happy. But despite that, even if he has this same role, I still have him way down at 29, which is the highest I done had him in a while. But like I said, going against the Raiders, for some reason the Rams play calling was great in week 13. If they had Tutu Atwell running all over the place. If they could find themselves near the goal line again, that'll be all Cam Akers, and that'll boost his points just like it did this week. So he could be running back 38, or he could be running back 18 or something.
I think you made it. I think with the Rams play calling, this might be like too much of a galaxy brain type point, but I thought the play calling was better in week 13 too, and it was almost just because like with all the players hurt, like any of like their name brand players hurt, like it just came down solely to scheme and to the literal plays. And like Sean McVay was going deep into his bag of tricks. Like Denny and I talked about 7 touches for Brandon Powell, 6 for Tutu Atwell, where he was basically like calling like the literal best plays he had in his playbook, I think.
Should have tried that earlier.
I know. He really should have.
Should have been using those players earlier.
Yeah, I know. Should have been doing something other than feeding Ben Skowronek like when the season was still on.
Right. You get Cooper Kupp, Tutu Atwell, Brandon Powell. There you go.
There you go. And I have Cam Akers as RB23, kind of the ultimate 6 teams on bye rank. I have him as the RB23.
I'm not sure I'm ranking the pass catching running back on.
It is the Raiders. It is the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, it is the Rams, though. They're at least at a minimum the worst non-Texans, non-Broncos offense in the NFL.
It's pretty dire. And
so
we'll do the Cam Akers against the Raiders or Latavius Murray against the Chiefs.
Oh, the Broncos are the worst offense in the NFL. That's what we're dealing with. And that includes the Broncos. Oh my God. Cam Akers fine.
I actually got Latavius Murray ranked a couple spots higher, but that'll probably change. I would go Cam
Akers or James Cook against the Jets, who we don't even know if he'll actually lead the backfield, though. Is the thing.
James Cook.
Cook, baby.
Get that Mountain Dew back in your veins, bud.
What are some of the other non-Baja Blast flavors?
Code Red.
Well, Code Red is a canonical flavor. I meant like a new flavor.
Isn't there one called like Pitch Black?
Yeah, there is actually. Maybe there's like Orange Face Melter.
There's all the like Halo ones. They're just like Master Chief Red and Master Chief Blue. Like every time there's Call of Duty ones too.
That's weird. Menthol Mountain Dew. I've never had that one. That's a really weird flavor. Zonovan Knight against the Bills or
Zonovan.
It's weird. It's another one of those situations where I don't feel like we quite know what's going to happen in the Jets backfield. Denny got me concerned on Monday's podcast about the Jets. We're going to talk about Corey Davis later. He got me concerned about the Jets week 13 numbers because they ran 85 plays. It's like everyone's numbers like real inflated.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, lot when you have a high volume passing day like that, you'll see more incompletions, that more time on the clock. So you got more time to, do that. 31 to 57. They might be in that same boat this week. Who knows? What are they? What are they? 9-point favorites? Is it that big, or am I Tripping.
Big, but no respect after, they, quote, beat the Bills.
They already beat him with Zach Wilson.
I know, with Zach, seriously.
They were playing both hands tied behind their back and still beat him.
They're 9.5-point underdogs right now, Lawrence.
Pretty disrespectful.
It is disrespectful. We'll wrap up real quick at running back where Jeff Wilson with Raheem Mostert. I think maybe this was health related for Jeff Wilson, but he got out carried 7-1 by Raheem Mostert in week 14. Maybe it's game flow related. The Dolphins were trailing most of that game against the 49ers, but can we safely rank Jeff Wilson ahead of Raheem Mostert again this week and kind of treat week 13 like a blip that didn't happen? Or is this back to we don't know mode? This is a Shanny disciple, and it's really hard to discern his intentions.
I mean, did you see anything that suggested it was health related? I watched this game, and there was nothing. There was no.
Well, it's because he came out of the game in week 12, I guess, was more what I was thinking.
He went back into that game, too. He came out and went right back. Not right, but eventually went back in.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think they was always behind.
Yeah.
I mean, Wilson, he was playing reps. He just wasn't good that day. Like Raheem Mostert had some decent runs whenever they decided to run the ball. I would go back to Wilson this week. I even got him inside my top 20 because you're going against the Chargers. Who can't run against them? And if he's the hot hand versus the Chargers run defense, then I expect him to be the guy. It would take me, seeing more of an even split for me to be like, all right, maybe now I don't know how I should rank them going forward. It would take this game for me to see that, but I would feel decent about it because everybody else run against the Chargers too.
I do have Jeff Wilson ranked ahead of Raheem Mostert, and I think if you're someone who reads rankings from multiple sources, multiple sites, you're going to see like a wide range of outcomes with Jeff.
Yeah, and why are you checking out other sites? What are you doing?
I know. Yeah, it's bad, actually. You're fired from listening to us. No, please stay. Please keep listening. Please keep listening when we return right after this. Just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands this weekend by predicting what will happen in college football, on the PGA Tour, and in the World Cup. There's also $100,000 up for grabs by guessing the outcome between the Dolphins and Chargers and our Sunday Night 7 contest. And don't forget, download the Rotoworld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It's available in your app store today. Wide receiver, we almost accidentally started talking wide receiver earlier because we got a lot of takes this week. It's also just a crazy week with 6 teams on bye. A lot of interesting situations. Kyle, who are you having trouble ranking a wide receiver in week 14?
If you'd like me to be honest, at one point I did forget again, but your ad read luckily saved me. It's Nico Collins. This all kind of depends on the status of Brandon Cooks, but the thing is, I don't think it's going to take much to keep Cooks out. He obviously doesn't want to be on the Texans, so I don't see him really gritting through a ton of injuries anymore.
What was his supposed injury?
I don't know, like hamstring or something.
Still his wrist, because that one.
I thought they changed it to hamstring. Just
out of breath. I'm trying to think what could be the funniest injury designation. I can't think.
Wrist was pretty funny.
Ear infection would be a good one, actually. That would be really good.
Oh man.
But Nico Collins, so 10 targets in week 13, 0 production whatsoever. But the targets
garbage
been trending upward.
Got that garbage time Tutter. It was. You can't find much more. I guess they only lost by 13, but it was towards the end of the game in which their offense had literally given up more points. Offense, defense, special teams technically, but had given up more points than they had put on the board by a considerable margin. And 10 targets is great. Pro Football Focus, I think they counted an 11th target in there as well, deemed him as seeing 36% of his targets as catchable. 36%, not a great number for catchable targets. He had a lot of air yards backing those targets. They were trying to move down the field with him. But frankly, when your quarterback is Kyle Allen, I'm not sure how useful that even is. The whole point of the air yards is that they should be catchable in some sense, or maybe we just don't count them. These air yards they're the prairiest of prayer yards. So it is good to be your team's number one receiver. I don't think I will doubt that. But man, he is going to be the only, assuming Brandon Cooks is out, he's going to be the only player on this team worth covering. He's got terrible quarterback play. And as we talked about with earlier with the Dallas running backs, they're going to get rocked. So It is the worst possible setup, at least in terms of how many points your team should be scoring. Get a lot of targets. What about that? What about a lot of targets?
It is a tough situation. I mean, Lawrence, do you have him in the top 36, Nico Collins?
No. You telling me you don't feel like the Houston Texans could beat the Cowboys? You tell me it can't happen?
I don't think it could happen, Lawrence. I got to be honest.
It can't happen.
No, yeah, I don't, man. Oh, man, I've been watching the Texans.
Thoughts and prayers. I'm sorry, Free.
I've been watching the Texans pretty hardcore the past couple of weeks. And man, Brandon Allen, man, that boy just can't. He don't do it for me, man. He is scared out there. I'm like, I mean, yeah, I was happy that I had the Cleveland defense in a couple of leagues, but there's other couple of leagues where I went against the Cleveland defense. Yeah,
lights out.
Right, and it was just like, there's no way this happened again. Then it happened again. So yeah, then it happened again. So yeah, the only thing you can really count on there is the targets. You praying for the targets and the garbage, as Kyle said, the garbage time tutter.
Tutty, whatever you call it.
Even as the top receiver on this team, he going to be right outside my top 40 this week. Chris Moore somewhere not too far behind that. Just run Damian Pierce to death.
Yeah, just seriously, just what's the Rocky line? If he dies, he dies. Just throw him out there.
Go out like a champ.
Go out like.
Where do you have Nico ranked?
I was a wide receiver 35, and I have him sandwiched between Adam Thielen and Michael Gallup. I should probably move Michael Gallup ahead of him, though.
I don't know, man. They don't need to throw much this game. Obviously, they're gonna, whenever they throw, it's gonna work well, right? But it's the flip side of the coin is like, we can count on useless targets from Nico Collins. We count on many targets from Michael Gallup, but they'll be good ones. So
I've got Jacoby Myers behind him. I'm moving Jacoby Myers up right now.
Yeah. It sounds like you got the right guys in the discussion, though.
I actually lied. I have him at 37, but whatever.
You almost got him as a wide receiver 3.
Hang a banner.
See, I was hanging a banner for that one. Final, Nico Collins or Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's in a slump now, under 40 yards back-to-back games.
I'm still going with DPJ.
I think I'm gonna go Nico. I don't feel good either way.
I lied. I have 2 more actually. Nico Collins or Mac Hollins against the Rams.
Nico.
Yeah,
I'm going with my rankings. Nico
for sure. Nico
Hollins and Collins.
I was about to say Nico Hollins. Nico Collins or point chasing with DJ Shark in a good matchup against the Vikings.
I think I'm gonna go Nico here.
I didn't think of that. My rankings say Nico, but I got Chark at 44 right now.
Denny Carter's all over DJ Shark this week, and he swears it's not point chasing.
Feels point chasing. Has he thought about that it is?
Maybe it's not. Where's it? I wonder where he's got Goff, because I got Goff at like QB7 this week.
I got Goff really high. I have him in the top 12 for the first time all season. Don't feel good about it. Do not feel good about it. Lawrence, who are you having trouble ranking at wide receiver?
Mr. Corey Davis.
I can't imagine why again.
You mentioned something that Denny said about them having run 85 plays, which is a hell of a lot of plays. Is he going to get 10 targets every game? Nah, that's not even how the Jets want to play football. But they was forced into this. They was forced into this passing life, baby. With Mike
I was hoping you were going to make that joke. Yeah.
They didn't ask for this. They
never wanted this. They never wanted this.
But what does seem clear to me is that he's running as the number 2 receiver behind Garrett Wilson. I feel like he had to get up to speed a little bit upon returning back from injury, because remember, he started out the season as the Jets' leading receiver. 3 of his first 4 games, at least 75 yards receiving, and in those 4 games, he scored 2 touchdowns. Fell off slightly, then he got hurt, come back from the injury, had to get into the groove, but he made some big catches in that game against the Vikings, one including a 4th and 12. Mike White hit him right over the middle. He caught it with good coverage on him. He can play. That's probably another reason why that Titans GM got fired. Corey Davis is like he looking solid, so that makes me say like, well, I can't just put this dude at wide receiver 28. I could put him ahead of Gabe Davis, but I won't put him, God, I didn't like that one.
No,
but I can't quite put him like tough matchup, kind of the same situation that Nico Collins will be in. Tough defense, tough matchup, could get in the, pass heavy scheme again. So that's what's leaving me questionable about where to actually put him. But right now I got him at 36, right ahead of Nico Collins.
I'm in the wide receiver 42 right now. Because it is kind of a tough situation right now. I mean, if they get the running game going at all, which they kind of did, I think, against the Bills in Week 9, the volume just isn't going to be there.
It's not going to.
But what do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, he's like a decent PPR play because the team plays like platonic ideal football to put PPR points on the board for everyone getting any reasonable amount of reps. They have a positive pass rate over expected under Mike White. He throws high completion, low, like super high value targets for the most part, though Garrett Wilson going out and picking up 240 air yards would say all those targets are high value. But for the rest of the team, I'll say they're probably going to be high completion, good PPR, not like boom play type of stuff. But you're not really counting on Corey Davis for boom plays anyways. You are really just playing him because you think you can go out and get 660 coin flip for a touchdown type of stuff. So I probably will. I mean, you guys aren't that far off. The difference between, what did you say, 36 and 42 is probably close to meaningless, right? There's probably not a tier break in there somewhere. So I'll probably have him closer to like 42 like you, Pat, because I just think Garrett Wilson is like the black hole of this offense in which no passing production can shoot out to other players. I love Garrett Wilson, but Corey Davis is a fine PPR wide receiver 4.
Garrett Wilson, just keep doing your thing, man. That's all I can say. Keep doing your thing. Don't let him hold you down. One second.
You're
watching
That's an injury right there.
Yeah,
that's
your
the
throat
Brandon
out
Cooks
3
injury.
weeks.
got choked up talking about
Choked up.
Garrett Wilson. Crying talking about Garrett Wilson. Yeah, so this is probably unnecessary. I'm going to count us back in because I'm going to talk about something now. 3, 2, 1. Who I'm having trouble ranking in Week 14, and maybe I shouldn't actually be having that much trouble doing it. They both have productive Week 12s for the Cardinals bye, but DeAndre Hopkins versus Marquise Brown, because I just feel like we haven't seen like the end of the story here. We don't know if Rondale Moore is going to be back from his groin injury this week. They're playing Bill Belichick and the Patriots, who stands to reason. His powers that be, he can apparently still take away your number one weapon. He's going to focus a lot of attention on DeAndre Hopkins, whose targets fell to only 6 in Marquise Brown's healthy Week 12 return. He still caught 4 balls for 87 yards and a touchdown. Marquise Brown had 6 catches for 46 yards and a touchdown, I believe. I think he had a touch. No, I don't think he had a touchdown. But I'm not talking about like ranking Marquise Brown ahead of DeAndre Hopkins, guys, but does Marquise Brown being back kind of remove DeAndre Hopkins from wide receiver 1 consideration?
I don't think so. To me,
I can't say so yet.
I wouldn't go that far. It's possible that, right, we look back on the final stretch of games. It turns out Marquise Brown, really good receiver, took targets off the table. But I think depending on how they use him, like he could just be the perfect clear out option. Not that he's like a wind sprinter by any means, but we know this offense is designed to funnel like shallow across the field type of stuff, which is perfect for what DeAndre Hopkins is going to do. It is not perfect at all for what Marquise Brown could be doing. So I'm more confident in DeAndre Hopkins' ability to earn targets in this offense and earn a lot of targets. So I'm probably still going to rank him as a wide receiver 1. I think obviously he's not going to, I won't have him as like in the conversation for top 5, which without Marquise Brown, it almost wasn't even a conversation.
He became like top 5 or 6 in a week.
Yeah, that's the type of production he was putting out.
So I think I'm going to, I'll dock him to, 8, 9, 10 range, somewhere in there, but I'm not going to pull him out of the wide receiver 1 ranks yet. I'm not even really considering it, honestly.
Here's who I have him behind, though. I mean, I don't know who to like jam him ahead of. T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, who's going to see 1 million targets against the Dolphins, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin. Like, I just feel like the uncertainty, it was kind of enough for me to get DeAndre Hopkins behind those guys.
I think I'd take him over every single one of them. Maybe not Garrett Wilson.
You taking Garrett Wilson over D-Hop?
Dude, Garrett Wilson's so good. The thing
I'm
is,
taking Garrett Wilson over D-Hop too. Even against the Bills.
Damn.
240 yards last week. Garrett Wilson, 15 targets.
First off,
Garrett
240
Wilson.
air yards. You can cite his actual yards were incredible.
I'll tell you what.
Oh, did I say air? Or
I'll tell you what. He would have had 240. Mike White missed him on a 70-yard touchdown. He had him, overshot him a little bit. He would have went for over 200 in that game, which is crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have him ranked. Clearly, according to you guys, I'm gonna have him ranked quite high.
And in the whole, like, Bill Belichick, he ain't stopping nobody best weapon no more.
Yes, he is. And I heard that get slipped in there, and I almost called it out.
I know. I mean, someone would.
I mean, Stephon Diggs didn't go off, but 7 for 92 is still, like, that's
not
chipping away.
That ain't stopped.
Yeah, that's not
kind of
stopped.
contained Diggs this year a lot better than he did last year.
I would say Justin Jefferson's game, 745 and 1 is more of contained. But nah, D-Hop about to do something. Well, hopefully. I mean, I don't know. He gonna get targets because he's gonna force Kyler Murray to throw in the ball. He gonna be like, son, throw me the ball, or they're gonna be arguing on the sideline. And D-Hop definitely could beat up Kyler Murray.
Yeah, he could. And
Marquise Brown definitely doesn't have as good of a shot to beat up Kyler Murray just based on their size.
I still would take Marquise Brown.
I would take him too, but
it's
DeAndre
a lot of
Hopkins,
people I'd take over Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
I'll take both of y'all and definitely myself over Kyler Murray.
You think he's all talk is what you're saying, basically? He is kind of the guy who seems like he would instigate and then do the thing. You know, like when a guy throws a punch
hold
on
me
the
back.
NBA
Hold
court.
me, someone do it.
Back.
Hold me, please.
He seems like a hold me back. He does.
He's a hold me back kind of guy. Definitely is.
I have Marquise Brown in the top 24, by the way.
That's
I have him ahead of Mike Evans. I don't
know about that. I didn't chime in on the Mike Evans talk earlier, but like
slander, you mean?
Yeah, from week 6 to 10, he had like 7 fewer targets, but 40% of the air yards, more red.
He looks gassed. He just looks gassed to me.
He's a tall guy. They get gassed.
He's gassed and tired of not getting the ball.
Yeah, he is. By the way, D-Hop, man. Kyler Murray's been like daring D-Hop to take a swing at him, and D-Hop has not been doing it.
Nah, he gonna be done slap him by week 17.
I will say,
because by then they be done lost 10 games. He be pissed off. He fed up now.
He's been daring him to take a swing at him.
The one person on that sideline who hates Kyler Murray most, Cliff Kingsbury, is the one person on that sideline I don't think I'd take against him. I'd take Kyler in that one.
I don't know. Maybe Cliff.
I'm with you on that. But I wasn't thinking about the coach. But yeah, I'm with you on that.
Hold on. Maybe Cliff's a former NFL player for one. So he's not like he's just some guy off the street. And he's been bottling a lot up.
I think
that's true. Because you don't like if you're a coach and your player reacting like that, it's like a teacher and a student. You can't, as the teacher, you can't punch the student. You know what I'm saying? So Cliff in the leadership position, like you have to be the calmer head.
You have to punch your player. You have to.
You actually do. You need to send a message.
I don't know. The architecture of Cliff's house makes me think he's gone soft since he played football. He lives in too much of a beautiful, curated home to actually throw a punch, I think.
Well, did you know Cliff Kingsbury? You would never guess this by seeing him on the sideline on Fox. He's 6'3". He's got like
he was a passing machine back in his day.
He was a legend.
Paved the way for Patrick Mahomes.
He was a legend on the NCAA football game.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad this guy knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, right. Definitely had a 9. He was ranked at least 95.
He was high because he could throw. Speaking of throwing, we're going to end the show talking about quarterback. I just don't know who I should rank higher for week 14. Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa. They're facing each other on Sunday Night Football. This is not why we're talking about it, but it's 8:20 p.m. Eastern on NBC Sunday, folks. Herbert, another disappointing game in week 13. Tua is by far his worst game of the season, but missing his left tackle against an elite defense. Who are you guys ranking higher, Tua or Justin Herbert?
You go ahead, Kyle. We know where I'm going with this.
No, I'm on the same boat as you. I mean,
for 3.
So what's crazy, what you just mentioned, Pat, Tua was still able to muster up, a couple of touchdowns, one a deep ball in stride. That's neither here nor there. But their offense is just better. They're clicking on all cylinders. Tua actually there was a lot there for him to take in the first half. He wasn't hitting the throws. I don't know what the Chargers is doing right now. They beat the Cardinals on the 2-point conversion.
What they're doing is cringe.
Yeah, it's the Cardinals. Justin Herbert, for that big arm that he has, he ain't using it except when there's no pressure in the game and it's 4th and 12. You know you're not going to win. You just throw it out there and Keenan Allen made the great catch. That kind of saved people who started him, because without that, it would have been a horrible fantasy day. Opposite, the 49ers are the better team than the Dolphins. The Dolphins are easily the better team than the Chargers at this point. I expect their offense to get back on point, tackles or not. They're not going to be able to handle these dudes. I got Tua this week at 4, but because the Dolphins defense isn't something special, I still have Justin Herbert right at quarterback 10.
I got Herbert at 6. Got Tua at 5, Herbert at 6.
It's going to be that kind of game.
Herbert and some guys behind him, because I mean, he still had, and I don't think this is a flaw of his entirely right now. I mean, his number one.
Come on, everyone's getting closer to truthing Herbert. Let's just do it out in the open. Come on.
No, I'm not truthing Herbert. It's been
is that good or bad?
It can be good or bad. And it's bad for him in this case.
It depends if you're right or wrong. If you're choosing someone and you're wrong, it's bad. But if you're choosing someone and you turn out to be right, it was good the whole time. And I think Herbert's a good quarterback. I do think he could probably still use to be more aggressive right now, even if like they're not the highest probability throws. But he's not. He hasn't had a game with an 8 out over 9, which is like, it doesn't take that much to get over 9 in an individual game. Since last year, he only has 1 game over 8 this year. We saw last week it was like a 7-point-something 8 out. They still have the fundamental flaw of Josh Palmer being your number 1 deep threat. Mike Williams didn't look close to returning last week. I'm treating it as if he isn't this week. And if that's the case, like, sure, he gets to 330 something in a touchdown last week versus the worst secondary in the NFL. Unless he's playing the worst secondary in the NFL, I don't think an easy opponent, a mid-tier opponent, is going to paste over the fact that the offense is fundamentally broken. Then on the other side of the ball, Tua's offense is fundamentally like near perfect. It's awesome.
Yeah, Herbert, you go, Lawrence.
I saw what Devontae Adams did. You got a guy who's as good or better on most days. You got him. Then you got another guy. Like, the Raiders don't have another. They did get the ball ran down their throats too, but they just let Devontae Adams go off. Like, it's like they didn't even know he was Devontae Adams. You gonna let Tyreek Hill do this too?
They are, because they're bad.
Yeah.
But I think that Justin Herbert, he's me like one of the narrative all-stars of the offseason. Like, were we too quick to coronate Justin Herbert? And it is weird that, like, I don't think it's his fault. I think it's the coaching. I think it's the injuries. I think it's the injury that he had that was bothering him for weeks. But it is weird, like, no one seemed to like know that he would be the kind of downfield passer he could be coming out of Oregon, because it was such a conservative offense. Now they're just playing such a conservative offense and like harnessing his big arm. It's just a very strange situation.
They are like bringing out the inner Oregon in him.
They are.
And I kind of agree. I blame it mostly on the personnel, but the line has been beat up, and the line's really beat up. The receivers have obviously been beat up. And even though they have Keenan Allen back, at this point, Allen definitely isn't a player you're stretching 15, 20 yards downfield consistently with. But there will be Twitter wars fought over him in March, and they won't be resolved for years.
Well, the fight's going to be easy when they don't make the playoffs. This is their last chance right here. They have to beat the Dolphins. They have to. Like, they've lost 3 of the last 4. They got to win this game, or people like me is ready, waiting in the wings.
The narrative for this game, like, Dolphins fans take this one real.
Oh yeah.
Real personally.
They think I'm a Dolphins fan.
I know.
I'm just here for one guy.
If the listeners aren't in it, you should check out like the Dolphins and the way they tweet about Tua versus the Herbert, the 2020 debate. They are relitigating it this year.
They're ready to fight.
Yeah, they actually are ready to fight. They're ready to take up arms. And yeah, just come on, just give us 2020 Herbert. Don't give us Oregon Herbert. We don't want. No one wants that, Chargers. So no one wants the show to end, but it has to end because we're out of things to talk about. So what do we got coming up this week, Lawrence?
You know, as always, we got the Optimal Flex plays coming tomorrow on Wednesday. And then me and Kyle have the Thursday pregame show on the NFL on NBC YouTube page before who do we got Thursday?
The Raiders and Rams, I believe.
Raiders and Rams, the matchup we all been dying to see. So we check those out.
Check them out. Kyle, what do you got going?
Man, that's brutal. I got to watch the Rams. Whew.
Yeah.
Well, I quit. I'm not doing anything. Now, I got 32 stats will be out by the time you're watching or listening to this. And then just check out the Thursday preview pod where Pat, UI, and other Pat and Denny will be on.
Check out the preview pod. Check out my ranks, which will be dropping Thursday morning. Check out my early ranks, which are already live on the site. Just check out everything we got going. A big week for news, a lot of injuries, so keep it locked on the player news page. For Lawrence, for Kyle, I'm Pat. Thank you for listening. We'll be back later this week.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.